Sarah Bennett stood by the window of room 204 at the Carmel Valley Resort. The morning sun made the ocean look like it was covered in tiny diamonds. She had worked at this fancy hotel for almost 3 years now. Every day she cleaned rooms, changed sheets, and made sure everything was perfect for the guests who paid more for one night than she made in a week. Today was like any other day. Sarah had already cleaned 4 rooms and had 8 more to go. Room 204 was on her list because a special guest had just checked out. The manager had not told the staff who had stayed there, but Sarah had seen the name on the room service papers, Mr. C. Eastwood. Sarah knew about Clint Eastwood. Everyone in Carmel did. He had been the mayor here once, and he owned businesses in town. He was a big movie star who made films about cowboys and cops. Sarah had seen some of his movies on TV, though she didn't have much time for movies these days. At 42, Sarah didn't have the luxury of free time. When she wasn't working at the resort, she was taking care of her mother, Rose, who had bad arthritis and couldn't move around much anymore. The money Sarah made at the resort paid for their small apartment, food, and her mother's medicine. It wasn't much, but they got by. Sarah moved to the sitting area of the suite to dust and vacuum. As she pushed the sofa back to clean underneath it, she noticed something stuck between the cushions. People left all sorts of things behind: pens, coins, earrings, and sometimes even money. The hotel had a strict policy. Everything found must be turned in to lost and found right away. Wayne reached between the cushions and pulled out a small worn leather wallet. It was nice leather, the expensive kind that gets softer and better looking with age. Sarah opened it to see if there was any ID inside. Maybe the guest was still in town and would want it back quickly. The first thing she saw was a driver's license with a familiar face. The serious eyes, the lined face, the name, Clint Eastwood Jr. Sarah's hands started to shake. She was holding Clint Eastwood's wallet. Inside were 3 credit cards, about $400 in cash, and a small photo that looked like it was of his family. Sarah sat down on the sofa, still holding the wallet. She knew she should take it to her supervisor right away. That was the rule. But something made her pause. Mr. Eastwood might need this wallet right away. His credit cards, his money, his ID. These were important things. She remembered overhearing 2 managers talking yesterday about how Mr. Eastwood was filming a new movie just outside of town this week. The local newspaper had done a story about it too. The movie set was only about 15 minutes away from the resort. Sarah looked at her watch. It was almost noon, which meant her lunch break was coming up. She had a full hour before she needed to be back at work. An idea formed in her mind. What if she drove to the film set and returned the wallet herself? Surely Mr. Eastwood would be happy to get his wallet back quickly. And it would be the right thing to do. But then she thought about the hotel rules. All found items had to be turned in. No exceptions. Her supervisor, Mrs. Grable, was very strict about following rules. If Sarah took the wallet off the property, even to return it to its owner, she could get in trouble. Sarah bit her lip as she thought about what to do. Her mother had always taught her to do the right thing, even when it was hard. It's not about what's easy, Rose would say. It's about what's right. After another moment of thinking, Sarah made her decision. She would return the wallet herself. She put it in her uniform pocket and finished cleaning the room. At exactly 12 o'clock, she clocked out for lunch, got in her old blue Honda, and drove toward the film set. The set was in a big field just outside of town. There were trucks, trailers, and lots of people moving around. A tall fence surrounded the whole area, and a security guard stood at the entrance. Sarah parked her car and walked up to him. "Excuse me," she said. "I found something that belongs to Mr. Eastwood, and I need to return it to him." The guard, a big man with a beard, looked at her like she was trying to trick him. "Yeah, you and everyone else in town wants to meet Mr. Eastwood. Sorry, no visitors allowed on set." Sarah tried again. "I don't want to meet him. I just found his wallet at the Carmel Valley Resort where I work. It has his ID and credit cards in it. He probably needs it." The guard still looked doubtful. "Leave it with me, and I'll make sure he gets it." Sarah hesitated. She didn't know this man. What if the wallet didn't make it to Mr. Eastwood? What if something happened to it? She would be responsible. I'd rather give it to someone who works directly with Mr. Eastwood, she said. Is there an assistant or someone I could talk to? The guard sighed, but he picked up his radio and spoke into it. After a minute, a young woman with a clipboard came to the gate. She had a badge that said Production Assistant on it. What's this about? A wallet? The woman asked. Sarah explained again, and this time she showed the wallet, opening it just enough so the woman could see the ID but not touch it. The production assistant's eyes went wide. Oh my God, he's been looking for that all morning. He thought he lost it at his house. She reached for the wallet. Sarah pulled it back slightly. I'm sorry, but I need to be sure it gets to him. Can I give it to him myself? The production assistant shook her head. He's filming right now. No one can interrupt. But I'm his personal assistant on this project. I promise I'll take it straight to him as soon as he's done with this scene. Sarah thought for a moment, then handed over the wallet. Please tell him Sarah Bennett from the Carmel Valley Resort found it while cleaning his room. The young woman nodded. I will. He'll be so relieved. Thank you. Sarah smiled, feeling good about her decision. She had done the right thing, making sure the wallet got back to its owner quickly. She got back in her car and drove to a small deli to get a sandwich before returning to work. She still had 20 minutes left on her break. The next morning, Sarah arrived at work feeling good. She wondered if Mr. Eastwood had gotten his wallet back and if he had been happy about it. She clocked in and was about to start her rounds when Mrs. Grable's voice came over the staff radio. Sarah Bennett, please report to the management office immediately. Sarah felt a small knot of worry in her stomach. The management office was where they dealt with serious matters. Had she done something wrong? She tried to think of any mistakes she might have made in the past few days, but couldn't think of anything. When she got to the office, Mrs. Grable was sitting behind her desk. Next to her was Mr. Phillips, the general manager of the resort. Neither of them was smiling. Sit down, Sarah, Mr. Phillips said, pointing to a chair. Sarah sat, her hands folded in her lap to keep them from shaking. We've received some disturbing information, Mr. Phillips began. Yesterday you found a wallet in room 204, is that correct? Sarah nodded. Yes, sir. It was Mr. Eastwood's wallet. I returned it to him. Well, to his assistant at the film set. Mrs. Grable's face got red. So you admit you took a guest's personal property off the premises? Yes, but I was returning it to him, Sarah explained. I thought he would need it right away. That is a direct violation of our policy, Mr. Phillips said, his voice cold. All found items must be turned into lost and found, no exceptions. But I was just trying to... Furthermore, Mr. Phillips continued, cutting her off, we received a call from the film set security. They reported that someone claiming to be our employee was trying to get access to Mr. Eastwood by saying she had his wallet. That's not what happened, Sarah protested. I wasn't trying to meet him. I just wanted to make sure he got his wallet back. Mrs. Grable shook her head. You've violated our guest privacy policy and our found items policy, and you've potentially embarrassed this resort by harassing a VIP guest. I didn't harass anyone, Sarah said, her voice getting smaller. Mr. Phillips slid a paper across the desk. We have no choice but to terminate your employment effective immediately. Please sign this paper, return your uniform and key card, and collect your final paycheck. Sarah felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. Fired? How would she pay rent? How would she buy her mother's medicine? Please, she said, her voice shaking. I've worked here for 3 years. I've never been late, never called in sick. I was just trying to do the right thing. Rules are rules, Ms. Bennett, Mrs. Grable said. We can't make exceptions. Sarah signed the paper, her vision blurry with tears she refused to let fall. She handed over her key card, went to the locker room to change out of her uniform, and then walked to her car with a small box containing her few personal items from her locker. As she sat in her car, reality hit her hard. She had lost her job because she tried to return a wallet. What would she tell her mother? How would they survive? Sarah put her head on the steering wheel and finally let her tears fall. Sarah drove home slowly, her eyes still red from crying. The small apartment she shared with her mother was only 15 minutes from the resort, but today the drive felt much longer. How would she tell her mother that she had lost her job? The rent was due in 2 weeks, and her mother's arthritis medicine wasn't cheap. When she pulled up to their apartment building, Sarah sat in the car for a few extra minutes. She needed to be strong for her mother. Rose Bennett had enough worries without seeing her daughter fall apart. Sarah wiped her eyes, took a deep breath, and got out of the car. Their apartment was on the first floor, which was good for Rose's bad knees. Sarah opened the door and found her mother sitting in her favorite chair by the window, working on a crossword puzzle. "You're home early," Rose said, looking up with a smile that quickly faded when she saw Sarah's face. "What's wrong, honey?" Sarah put her box of belongings on the kitchen table and sat down across from her mother. "I lost my job today, Mom." Rose put down her crossword puzzle. "What happened? Did they have to let people go?" "No," Sarah said, looking down at her hands. "I found a wallet in one of the rooms. It belonged to Clint Eastwood." "The movie star? The one who used to be mayor here?" Sarah nodded. "Yes. I took my lunch break and drove to where he's filming a movie to return it to him. The hotel has a rule that all found items have to be turned in to Lost and Found, but I thought he would need his wallet right away." Rose reached over and patted Sarah's hand. "You were trying to do a good thing. The hotel didn't see it that way. They said I broke the rules and violated guest privacy. They fired me." Rose shook her head. "That doesn't seem fair. You were just being kind." "Rules are rules," they said. Sarah got up and went to the kitchen. "I'll make us some tea." As she put the kettle on the stove, Sarah tried to think of what to do next. She had some money saved, but not much. It would last a month, maybe 2, if they were very careful. She would need to find a new job quickly. "We'll be okay," Rose called from the living room, as if she could read Sarah's thoughts. "You'll find another job." "I hope so," Sarah said, bringing 2 cups of tea back to the living room. "But most of the good jobs around here are at hotels and restaurants, and they might not want to hire someone who got fired." "Tell them the truth," Rose said firmly. "You have nothing to be ashamed of." They spent the rest of the day making a list of places where Sarah could apply for work. Rose suggested she try the small shops in town, and maybe the library was hiring. Sarah wrote everything down, but she knew those jobs wouldn't pay as well as the resort had. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about how unfair it all was. She had only wanted to help. If she had just followed the rules and turned the wallet in to Lost and Found, she would still have her job. But then Mr. Eastwood might not have gotten his wallet back so quickly. She had made a choice, and now she had to live with it. The next morning, Sarah got up early. She put on her nicest clothes, the ones she usually wore to church on Sundays, and drove into town. She spent the whole day going from place to place filling out job applications. Some places were kind, but no one needed help right away. By the end of the day, Sarah was tired and discouraged. The following day was more of the same. Sarah applied at every hotel in town, but when they asked why she had left her last job, she told the truth. The managers would get a certain look on their faces, and Sarah knew she wouldn't be getting a call back. On the 3rd day after losing her job, Sarah was at home updating her resume when the phone rang. Rose answered it. "Hello? Yes, this is the Bennett residence." Rose's eyes went wide. "Yes, she's here. May I ask who's calling?" Rose put her hand over the phone and whispered to Sarah, "It's for you. The man says he's Clint Eastwood." Sarah's heart jumped. She took the phone with a shaking hand. "Hello? This is Sarah Bennett." "Ms. Bennett, this is Clint Eastwood." The voice was low and a bit rough, just like in his movies. "I wanted to thank you personally for returning my wallet the other day." Sarah almost couldn't speak. "You're welcome, Mr. Eastwood. I was happy to help. My assistant told me you brought it all the way to the set. That was very kind of you." "It seemed like the right thing to do," Sarah said, still not quite believing she was talking to Clint Eastwood on the phone. "Well, I appreciate it. Not many people would go out of their way like that." There was a pause. She also mentioned you work at the Carmel Valley Resort. Sarah felt a lump in her throat. I did, yes, until the day I returned your wallet. What do you mean? His voice had changed, sounding concerned. I was fired for taking your wallet off the property. It's against hotel policy to remove found items, even to return them to the owner. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. When Mr. Eastwood spoke again, his voice was different. It reminded Sarah of the tough characters he played in movies. Let me get this straight. You found my wallet, took time out of your day to bring it to me, and they fired you for it? Yes, sir. They said I violated guest privacy and broke the rules. That's ridiculous, he said, and Sarah could hear the anger in his voice. You were doing me a favor. I needed that wallet. I had to reshoot a scene because I couldn't find my driver's license for the production insurance forms. I'm sorry about that, Sarah said, not knowing what else to say. Don't apologize, you did nothing wrong. There was another pause. Tell me something, Ms. Bennett. Are you looking for another job now? Yes, sir. I've been applying all over town, but no luck so far. What's your full name and address? I'd like to send you a proper thank you for your help. Sarah hesitated, but then gave him the information. She didn't expect anything from him, but it was nice of him to call. Thank you again for returning my wallet, Mr. Eastwood said. And Ms. Bennett, don't worry about the job situation. Sometimes things have a way of working out. After they hung up, Rose was full of questions. Was it really him? What did he say? Why did he call? Sarah told her mother about the conversation. He was just saying thank you. He seemed upset when I told him I got fired. Well, that was nice of him to call, Rose said. Not many famous people would do that. Yes, Sarah agreed. It was nice. The next day, Sarah continued her job search. She had an interview at a small inn on the edge of town, but the pay was much less than she had made at the resort. Still, it was better than nothing. The manager seemed interested in hiring her, despite knowing why she had left her last job. I would have done the same thing, the woman said. We'll call you by the end of the week. Sarah was feeling a little more hopeful as she drove home. Maybe things would work out after all. When she got to the apartment, there was a large envelope in the mailbox with no return address. Inside was a card that simply said, "Thank you," on the front. When she opened it, 5 crisp $100 bills fell out, along with a note written in a neat small handwriting. Ms. Bennett, please accept this small token of my appreciation for your kindness and integrity. What happened was unfair, and I intend to make it right. Clint Eastwood. Sarah stared at the money and the note, hardly believing what she was seeing. $500 would help with the rent and her mother's medicine. It was a generous gift. But what did he mean by making it right? Surely he couldn't do anything about her being fired. She showed the card to her mother, who was as surprised as Sarah was. What a kind man, Rose said. I always did like his movies. Later that evening, Sarah was making dinner when the phone rang again. This time, it wasn't Clint Eastwood. It was Mr. Phillips, the general manager of the Carmel Valley Resort. Sarah stood frozen by the phone. Mr. Phillips, the general manager who had fired her just 3 days ago, was calling her at home. She picked up the receiver with a shaking hand. Hello, Mr. Phillips, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Ms. Bennett, he said, and Sarah noticed his tone was very different from when he had fired her. He sounded nervous. How are you? I'm fine, Sarah said, though that wasn't really true. She waited for him to continue. I'm calling because... He paused and cleared his throat. Well, there seems to have been a misunderstanding about your, situation at the resort. Sarah frowned. A misunderstanding? You fired me for returning Mr. Eastwood's wallet. That seemed pretty clear. Yes. Well, about that. Mr. Phillips's voice got higher. The management team has reviewed your case, and we feel that perhaps we acted too quickly. Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. What are you saying? We would like to offer you your job back, Ms. Bennett. Sarah almost dropped the phone. After a moment, she found her voice again. You want me to come back? After you fired me? Yes, in fact, we'd like to offer you a promotion. The position of guest relations manager has just opened up. It comes with a significant pay increase and better hours. Sarah's mind was racing. Guest relations manager? That job usually went to people with college degrees or years of experience in the hotel business. She had been a housekeeper for 3 years. I don't understand, she said finally. Why would you offer me this job? Mr. Phillips sighed. To be honest, Ms. Bennett, we've received some feedback about how your situation was handled. The resort's owners feel that your actions, while technically against policy, showed exceptional dedication to guest satisfaction. That's exactly the kind of thinking we want in a guest relations manager. Sarah suddenly understood. Clint Eastwood must have called the resort, maybe even the owners. That's what he meant by making things right. I see, she said slowly. And when would you want me to start? As soon as possible. Monday morning. The position comes with a 30% pay increase, and we're prepared to overlook the, gap in your employment. Sarah thought about it. The money would be very helpful, and the better hours would mean more time with her mother. But could she work for people who had fired her so quickly? I need some time to think about it, Mr. Phillips. Can I call you back tomorrow? Of course, he said quickly. Take all the time you need. Well, preferably by tomorrow afternoon. We need to fill the position quickly. After hanging up, Sarah went back to the kitchen where her mother was waiting. What did Mr. Phillips want? Rose asked. Sarah told her about the job offer and the promotion. Rose listened carefully, her eyes widening at the mention of a 30% pay increase. Do you think Mr. Eastwood had something to do with this? Rose asked. I'm sure of it, Sarah said. But I don't know if I should take the job. They fired me for doing the right thing. What if something like this happens again? Rose thought for a moment. Sometimes people deserve a second chance. Maybe they learned something from this too. Sarah nodded. Her mother was right as usual. I'll sleep on it. The next morning, Sarah was awakened by the doorbell. When she opened the door, a delivery man handed her a large bouquet of flowers. The card read, "Sometimes doing the right thing comes with a price. Sometimes it comes with a reward. Thank you for your integrity. C.E." Sarah smiled as she put the flowers in a vase. The message was clear. Clint Eastwood had indeed made things right for her. She picked up the phone and called Mr. Phillips. I'll take the job, she said. I can start on Monday. Excellent. Mr. Phillips sounded relieved. We'll have everything ready for you. On Monday morning, Sarah arrived at the Carmel Valley Resort wearing a new dress she had bought with part of Clint Eastwood's gift. The security guard at the employee entrance did a double take when she used her new key card. Ms. Bennett, I heard you were, I'm the new guest relations manager, Sarah said with a smile. Things change. When she walked into the lobby, Mrs. Grable was waiting for her. The woman who had helped fire her now looked uncomfortable. Good morning, Miss Bennett. I'll show you to your new office. Office. Sarah had never had an office before. She followed Mrs. Grable down a hallway she had previously only cleaned, to a small but nice room with a desk, computer, and a window overlooking the garden. Your duties will include handling special requests from VIP guests, resolving any guest complaints, and ensuring that everyone has an excellent stay, Mrs. Grable explained, not quite meeting Sarah's eyes. You'll have a team of 3 people reporting to you. Sarah nodded, still trying to take it all in. Just last week, she had been making beds and cleaning bathrooms. Now she had an office and a team. The employee handbook is on your desk, Mrs. Grable continued. Though I suppose you could bend the rules a bit now, given the circumstances of your return. Sarah looked directly at Mrs. Grable. Actually, I think rules are important. They give us structure and guidance. But sometimes, doing the right thing for another person has to come first, don't you think? Mrs. Grable finally met Sarah's gaze. Yes, I suppose that's true. Well, I'll leave you to get settled. As Mrs. Grable left, Sarah sat down at her new desk. On it was a small, gift-wrapped package. She opened it and found a business card holder with her name engraved on it. Sarah Bennett, Guest Relations Manager. Under the holder was a note in Mr. Phillips's handwriting. Welcome back. Let's start fresh. Sarah spent her first day learning her new job. It was challenging but exciting. She met her team, who seemed surprised but happy to work with her. By the end of the day, she was tired but proud of herself for taking on this new role. When she got home that evening, her mother was waiting with dinner ready. "How was your first day as a manager?" Rose asked, serving Sarah a plate of her favorite lasagna. "It was good," Sarah said. "Different, but good. I think I'm going to like it." "I'm proud of you," Rose said. "You stood up for what was right and look what happened," Sarah nodded. "I got lucky. Not everyone gets a Hollywood star to fight for them." "It wasn't just luck," Rose insisted. "You made a choice to help someone even though it wasn't easy or safe. That says something about who you are." Later that evening, as Sarah was getting ready for bed, the phone rang. She answered it, wondering who would be calling so late. "Hello, Ms. Bennett. It's Clint Eastwood again." Sarah sat down on the edge of her bed. "Hello, Mr. Eastwood. Thank you for the flowers and for whatever you said to the resort." He chuckled. "I just made a phone call. You did the hard part. Still, I'm grateful. I start my new job today with better pay and better hours." "Good. I'm glad to hear it." There was a pause. "Actually, I'm calling about something else. I'm working on a new project, a small independent film about everyday heroes, people who do the right thing even when it's difficult. I was wondering if you might be interested in being a consultant." Sarah was stunned. "A consultant? Me? But I don't know anything about making movies." "You know about doing the right thing when it costs you something. That's what the movie is about. One of the stories is about a hotel worker who gets fired for helping someone, loosely based on your experience. I'd like your input to make sure it rings true." Sarah could hardly believe what she was hearing. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Eastwood replied. "We can work around your schedule at the resort. The pay is decent, and who knows, it might lead to something interesting." Sarah thought about how much her life had changed in just 1 week. From being fired to getting a better job to now being offered work on a movie, all because she found a wallet and tried to do the right thing. "Yes," she said. "I'd like that very much." "Good," Eastwood said. "My assistant will call you tomorrow with the details. And Ms. Bennett, thank you again for returning my wallet. It turns out it was worth a lot more than I thought." 6 months had passed since Sarah Bennett found Clint Eastwood's wallet. Her life had changed in ways she never could have imagined. Her new job as guest relations manager at the Carmel Valley Resort was going well. She enjoyed helping guests and solving problems. The extra money meant she could finally fix the leaky roof in their apartment and buy a better chair for her mother's back pain. But the most exciting change was her work as a consultant on Clint Eastwood's new film, Everyday Heroes. Every Saturday, Sarah would drive to the production office in Monterey where she would meet with the writers and sometimes with Mr. Eastwood himself. They listened to her story and asked many questions about how it felt to be fired for doing the right thing, and what it was like to suddenly get a second chance. One of the 3 stories in the film was based on Sarah's experience. In the movie version, a hotel maid named Maria finds a famous musician's guitar and returns it to him, only to be fired for leaving work during her shift. The musician then helps her start her own cleaning business, which becomes very successful. "It's not exactly my story," Sarah told her mother after reading the script, "but it has the same idea." "Art is like that," Rose said. "It takes real life and makes it bigger." Today was a special day. Mr. Eastwood had invited Sarah to visit the actual film set where they were shooting the scene where Maria gets fired. Sarah was nervous but excited as she drove to the location, an old hotel in Carmel that had been closed for renovations. When she arrived, a young woman with a headset showed her where to park and led her into the hotel. Inside, the lobby had been transformed into a movie set with big lights, cameras, and lots of people moving around with purpose. "Ms. Bennett, you made it." Clint Eastwood walked over to greet her. Even at his age, he stood tall and moved with confidence. He shook her hand and introduced her to the actors and the film crew. "Everyone, this is Sarah Bennett, the real-life inspiration for Maria's story," he announced. The people on set smiled and nodded at her. The actress playing Maria, a young woman named Lucia Ramirez, came over to give Sarah a hug. "Your story helped me understand how to play this role," Lucia said. "Thank you for sharing it." Sarah blushed, not used to so much attention. "I just did what seemed right at the time." "That's exactly what makes it special," Mr. Eastwood said. "Now let's show you how a movie gets made." Sarah was given a chair near the monitors where she could watch the filming. It was fascinating to see how many times they shot the same scene, changing small details each time. The actor playing the hotel manager was much meaner than Mr. Phillips had been in real life, shouting and pointing his finger at Lucia. Sarah found herself getting emotional watching the scene, remembering how it felt to be fired unfairly. During a break in filming, Mr. Eastwood came to sit beside her. "What do you think so far?" he asked. "It's amazing," Sarah said, "but also strange to see something like my experience being acted out." He nodded. "That's why your input has been so valuable. We wanted to capture the real emotions, not just make up drama. The actor playing the manager is very good at being mean," Sarah said with a small smile. Eastwood laughed. "Sometimes we exaggerate things in movies to make the point clearer. In real life, unkindness can be quiet and still hurt just as much." After lunch, Sarah was surprised when Mr. Eastwood asked if she would like to appear in the movie. "Me? But I'm not an actor," she protested. "It's just a small part, what we call a cameo," he explained. "In the scene where Maria starts her new cleaning business, we need someone to be her first client. You'd have one line, 'I heard you're the best in town.'" Sarah was about to say no, but then she thought about what a great story this would be, to tell her mother. "How many people got to be in a movie with Clint Eastwood?" "Okay," she said. "I'll try it." They filmed Sarah's scene later that afternoon. She was very nervous and had to do it 7 times before Mr. Eastwood was satisfied. Each time she got a little more comfortable. By the final take, she actually felt like she knew what she was doing. "You're a natural," Lucia told her afterward. "Maybe you have a future in movies." Sarah laughed. "I think I'll stick to hotel work. But this was fun." When the day was over, Mr. Eastwood walked Sarah to her car. "Thank you for coming today, and for all your help with the film." "Thank you for including me," Sarah said. "This has been an amazing experience. We're having a small premiere in Carmel when the film is finished," he said, "in about 6 months. I hope you and your mother will attend as my special guests." Sarah couldn't believe it. "We would be honored." On the drive home, Sarah thought about how much her life had changed because of one simple act, returning a lost wallet. If someone had told her a year ago that she would be a manager and appear in a movie with Clint Eastwood, she would have thought they were crazy. When she got home, she told Rose everything about her day on the movie set. Her mother listened with wide eyes and a proud smile. "You're going to be in a movie," Rose exclaimed. "My daughter, the movie star." Sarah laughed. "Hardly a star. I have one line." "Still, it's wonderful," Rose said. "And to think, all of this happened because you did the right thing, even when it was hard." The next day at work, Sarah was in her office when Mr. Phillips stopped by. Their relationship had improved over the months, though there was still some awkwardness between them. "How was your day at the movie set?" he asked. "It was interesting," Sarah said. "They even gave me a small part in the film." Mr. Phillips raised his eyebrows. "Really? Well, we'll have to put that in the resort newsletter. Our guest relations manager, hotel professional by day, movie star by night." They both laughed, the tension between them easing a little more. Later that day, Sarah helped an elderly couple who had been given a room far from the elevator despite their request for one nearby. She personally walked them to a better room and made sure they were comfortable. "You're very kind," the woman told her. "Not everyone would take the time to help us like this." "It's my job to make sure guests are happy," Sarah said. "But more than that, I believe in doing the right thing." As the months passed, Sarah continued to excel at her job. The resort's guest satisfaction ratings went up, and Mr. Phillips gave her a good performance review and another small raise. She paid off some old bills and even started a small savings account. The work on Everyday Heroes continued, though Sarah's part as a consultant was mostly finished. Occasionally, Mr. Eastwood's assistant would call with a question about some detail, but mostly Sarah just looked forward to seeing the finished film. One evening in late summer, a large envelope arrived in the mail. Inside was an invitation to the premiere of Everyday Heroes at the Carmel Film Festival, along with 2 VIP passes. There was also a note from Clint Eastwood. "Sarah, your story has inspired many people on our film crew. I believe it will inspire many more when they see the film. Sometimes small acts of kindness and integrity can have big ripples in the world. Thank you for starting the ripple. See you at the premiere. Clint." Sarah showed the invitation to her mother. They would need to buy new dresses for such a fancy event, but that was okay. Sarah had come to believe that good things happen when you do the right thing, even if it doesn't seem that way at first. "We're going to walk on a red carpet," Rose said, looking at the invitation with wonder. "It's like a fairy tale," Sarah agreed. "But the best part is that it's real." The night of the Carmel Film Festival arrived on a perfect October evening. The air was cool but not cold, and the stars were bright in the clear sky. Sarah and Rose Bennett stood in front of their apartment mirror, hardly recognizing themselves. After much searching, they had found beautiful dresses on sale. Sarah wore a simple dark blue dress that made her eyes look bluer, while Rose had chosen a silver dress that matched her gray hair. "You look beautiful, Mom," Sarah said, helping Rose with her necklace. "So do you, dear," Rose replied, her eyes shining with pride. Who would have thought we'd be going to a movie premiere? A black car arrived to pick them up, sent by Clint Eastwood himself. The driver opened the door for them and treated them like they were movie stars too. Sarah felt like she was dreaming as they drove through the streets of Carmel to the theater where the premiere was being held. When they arrived, there was indeed a red carpet, with photographers taking pictures of the actors and important people. Sarah and Rose waited their turn, feeling a bit out of place among all the glamorous people. Then Sarah heard someone call her name. "Sarah! Rose! Over here!" It was Clint Eastwood waving them over. He was wearing a nice suit and looked very handsome for his age. Next to him was the actress Lucia Ramirez in a beautiful red dress. Eastwood introduced them to several people, including the other actors and the film's producers. Cameras flashed as Sarah and Rose stood with the movie stars. "I can't believe this is happening," Rose whispered to Sarah. "Ms. Bennett is the real hero behind one of our stories," Eastwood told a reporter who asked who they were. "She's the one who returned my wallet and got fired for her trouble." The reporter looked interested and asked Sarah some questions. She answered simply, saying she had just done what seemed right. More people gathered around, wanting to hear her story. Inside the theater, Sarah and Rose were given special seats near the front, next to Eastwood and the main actors. Before the movie started, the festival director made a speech welcoming everyone and introducing Eastwood, who went to the stage. "This film is about ordinary people who do extraordinary things," Eastwood said. "Not because they want attention or rewards, but because it's the right thing to do. One of those real heroes is here tonight." He pointed to Sarah. "Sarah Bennett's story inspired us, and I hope it inspires you too." Everyone turned to look at Sarah, and people started clapping. She felt her face get hot with embarrassment, but she smiled and nodded her thanks. The lights dimmed, and the movie began. Sarah watched with wonder as the 3 stories unfolded on the big screen. The first was about a man who risked his life to save a child from a burning car. The second was about a teacher who helped a troubled student when everyone else had given up. Then came the third story, the one based on Sarah's experience. Even though she knew it wasn't exactly her story, seeing Lucia play Maria, finding the guitar and then being fired for returning it, made Sarah's eyes fill with tears. Rose held her hand tightly as they watched. When Sarah's small scene came on, with her one line, "I heard you're the best in town," Rose squeezed her hand even harder. There on the big screen was Sarah, looking nervous but doing her part. The audience seemed to like the scene, and some people even laughed at the right moment. As the movie ended and the credits rolled, Sarah was surprised to see her name listed as both an actor and a consultant. The audience clapped loudly, and many people stood up, giving the film a standing ovation. After the movie, there was a party at a nearby hotel. Sarah and Rose were invited, and again they found themselves talking to actors, directors, and film critics. Many people wanted to hear more about the real story behind Maria's part of the film. "Your story touched me deeply," one woman told Sarah. She introduced herself as a reporter for a big newspaper. "Would you be willing to do an interview about your experience?" Sarah looked at Eastwood, who nodded encouragingly. "Sure," she said to the reporter, "if you think people would be interested." "Trust me, they will be," the reporter said. "In times like these, people need to hear about goodness being rewarded." Later in the evening, as the party was winding down, Eastwood came to sit with Sarah and Rose. "What did you think of the film?" he asked. "It was wonderful," Rose said. "I cried 3 times. I loved it," Sarah added. "Especially how all 3 stories showed that doing the right thing matters, even when it seems small." Eastwood nodded. "That was the message we wanted to share." He paused, then continued, "I have something to discuss with you, Sarah. The film is getting good reviews, and we're planning to show it at other festivals. Some of the producers think your real story could help promote the film. They're wondering if you'd be willing to do some interviews and appearances." Sarah was surprised. "Me? But I'm not an actor or anything." "No, but you're authentic. Your experience is what inspired the film. People respond to real stories." He handed her a card. "This is my publicist. She can work with your schedule at the resort. The studio would pay you, of course." Sarah took the card, feeling overwhelmed. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Rose encouraged. "Your story might help other people do the right thing too." Sarah thought about it. "Okay, yes. If it helps spread the message of the film, I'm happy to help." The next morning, Sarah's phone started ringing early. The first call was from Mr. Phillips. "I just read about you in the newspaper," he said. "There's a picture of you with Clint Eastwood at the premiere. The article mentions the Carmel Valley Resort too." "I hope that's okay," Sarah said. "It's more than okay," Mr. Phillips said. "It's great publicity for us and, well, I'm proud of you, Sarah. You've come a long way." Over the next few weeks, Sarah's life got even busier. She continued her job at the resort, but now she also did interviews about her experience and the film. A magazine did a story calling her the housekeeper who became a Hollywood consultant. Television shows wanted her to appear as a guest. Through it all, Sarah remained the same kind, honest person she had always been. She never forgot what it felt like to be fired for doing the right thing, and she used her new position at the resort to make sure employees were treated fairly. One day, about a month after the premiere, Sarah received a letter from a woman in Ohio. The woman wrote that she had read about Sarah's story, and it had inspired her to return a lost phone she had found, even though it meant missing an important job interview. The phone belonged to the manager of a company she had always wanted to work for, and he was so impressed by her honesty that he offered her a job. "Your story changed my life," the woman wrote. "Thank you for showing that integrity matters." More letters came after that, from people all over the country who had been touched by Sarah's story. She answered every one, encouraging them to keep doing the right thing. One evening, as Sarah read the latest letter to her mother, Rose smiled. "You know what's amazing?" Rose said. "All of this happened because you found a wallet and decided to return it." Sarah nodded. "One small choice changed everything." "Not the choice itself," Rose corrected. "The fact that you made it without expecting anything in return. That's what makes it special." Sarah thought about how her life had changed in 1 year. From housekeeper to manager, from anonymous worker to someone whose story inspired others. From someone who got punished for doing good to someone who was rewarded beyond her wildest dreams. "I wonder what would have happened if I had just turned the wallet into lost and found," Sarah said. Rose patted her hand. "We'll never know. But I'm glad you followed your heart instead of just following the rules." Sarah smiled. "Me too, Mom. Me too."